Aye, shepherd's pie, greetings from the Philippines. Welcome back to the garden for a coffee and a chat. Thought we'd have a little talk today about the new vlogging laws, as they are calling them in the Philippines. Not sure that they are new laws. Some people are calling them new regulations. I think the safest bet is to call them new guidelines on potentially interpreting and enforcing existing laws. But whatever they are, they have the potential to be devastating to vloggers in the Philippines. So first of all, I thought we would have a look at what the new guidelines, regulations, laws are, why they have done it, and what the ramifications are likely to be. Because I don't think I'm overstating it when I say they have the potential to basically cancel a lot of vloggers in the Philippines. So anyway, let's have a look at what the new guidelines are. So the NPC, which is the National Privacy Council, mandates vloggers to blur bystanders in videos. So in this article published on the 17th of June 2025, the National Privacy Commission, NPC, has issued new guidelines requiring vloggers and content creators to blur or mask bystanders in their videos to protect individuals' privacy rights. NPC Circular number 2025/01, which took effect on June 10th, 2025, outlines stricter protocols for recording and publishing footage that may unintentionally capture people. The Commission emphasised that recording individuals, whether intentionally or not, is considered data processing and falls under the Data Privacy Act of 2012, DPA. In the scenario where vloggers are recording footage of themselves in action, eating, shopping, driving, biking, dancing, walking, or otherwise engaged in general video recording activities in public or semi-public places, vloggers shall ensure that personal data processing activities are done in a fair and lawful manner, the circular states. Vloggers must blur or mask images of bystanders, especially children or vulnerable individuals. Provide transparency by informing people that they are being recorded and that the footage will be uploaded online. Include a privacy notice on their platform, allowing affected individuals to request the removal of content that violates their privacy rights. Violations of the circular carry potential criminal, civil, and administrative penalties under the DPA, Data Privacy Act. So why have they done this? What was the driving force behind these new, let's call them guidelines? I think it's quite obvious to anyone that Vitali would have been a major factor. I think he was probably the catalyst for the new regulations, the crackdown as it appears to be. And I'm not surprised. I think it's a bit unfortunate because he's not really a vlogger, is he? He's a streamer. He's a shock jockey. He's well, basically he's a dickhead. But I'm sure he must have been the primary reason for bringing him in now. But I don't think it's just him. There are a number of, shall we say, vloggers in the Philippines, which some might not consider tasteful. Some might consider their vlogs intrusive. Some people might conclude that they are exploiting Filipinos. So I think that's part of it as well. I don't think it's just Vitali. I think a resentment and anger on the activities of certain vloggers has been building up for a while now, and I can understand that. And I think, as I say, Vitaly was probably the catalyst. And I think that's what they're trying to achieve. They're trying to shut down certain channels, to cancel them. And realistically, you can only assume that. I mean, I don't know logically what other conclusion you can come to. So that was their motivation. That is their intention, we shall say. But what are the ramifications? What will result from this? Is it going to work? And is it a good idea? Because I'll tell you now, I can't help but think they're shooting themselves in the foot here. Because the way I interpret these rules, the way I see it panning out, I think it's very self-defeating. And in the long run, it's not going to benefit the Philippines. So why do I think that? Now, you notice I've used the word potential. It has the potential to be devastating. It has the potential to cancel channels. I'm using that word because this is the Philippines. And as in any country in Southeast Asia, really, there are rules, there are guidelines, there are regulations. They exist. The question is whether they are going to be enforced or not. And only time will tell on that one. If they are, then it's going to be devastating for certain channels. That's why I said in the thumbnail, I probably have said something along the lines that has regular guy been cancelled? Because as soon as I read the regulations, I thought of Scotty Boy. Because I know Scotty Boy. I've interviewed him for the channel. And a lot of his content, or all of his content really, apart from the live streams, is going to have to change if they enforce these new regulations. His channel will not be the same. There are a number of other channels that do the same kind of content, but I don't know as much about them as I do about regular guy's channel. But yeah, I don't know how, if it is enforced, how he's going to survive that. Because the reality is, these new regulations are going to impact on all of us. They're certainly going to impact on me going forward. They're going to have to make me think differently in terms of the way I shoot my content. When I do my walk and talks, I tend to pan the camera around in front of me when I'm walking along, and I do occasionally pick people up walking towards me. So I'm going to have to rethink that. I'm going to probably have to keep the camera on myself all the time. There was a lot of content that I was intending to do over the coming months in terms of restaurant reviews and things out and about town. I was even thinking of buying a new camera. I was going to get a DJI Osmo Pocket 3. I'm not going to now, because if this is enforced, it is going to be the end of a number of channels. I don't think I was being dramatic when I said that Scotty's channel's been cancelled, because I think it has. I think a number of channels have been cancelled if this comes to fruition. And I think it's pretty ridiculous, to be honest with you, because it seems like a very blunt tool in terms of stopping what they're trying to stop. Because there will be other ways of doing it. I mean, this idea, and I spoke about this last night on my live stream, and there were people who said, a few in the comments, you know, it's a privacy law, you know, it's a good idea, etc., etc. But I don't understand why they're concentrating on vloggers, apart from the body cams. Because if you're going to say you shouldn't have people in the background, you should blur them out, I don't think this is going to apply to news channels. I don't think it's going to apply to, you know, TV shows, which are, you know, panning around, you know, crowded streets and things like that. I'm sure it's not. Seems it's just going to apply to vloggers and certain law enforcement bodies. And it's going to make vlogging very difficult. It's going to make it hard for a lot of channels. We are going to have to adjust if we intend to carry on doing it. Now you could say, well, so what? You know, your problem, doesn't matter. People might not like vlogging content. You might think it's a great idea. I was watching Tim Newton's channel the other day. Great channel in Thailand. I always big his channel up because I like the research he does. He doesn't just sit here and give opinions. He backs it up with facts and figures, which is important, I think. And the feedback from some people, well, they thought it was great. You know, let's crack down on these vloggers. I don't like them, and I don't like this, and they're intrusive. And I think that's unfair. I would certainly agree that some vlogs are. Not all of them. Not the vast majority, really. I mean, the reality is they are providing content that people like. The vloggers that seem to get the hundreds of thousands of views are the ones who go out and make the vlogging content. And in my humble opinion, certainly in the Philippines, the vast majority of them are providing a service. And that's why I'm not quite sure. I understand that their thought process will have been to crack down, but I think they've done it very badly. There are other ways that they could do it if they do actually enforce this. And I've got serious doubts. As I said in the live stream last night, there are rules and regulations regarding wearing helmets in the Philippines. There are rules regarding 3 people on a scooter. But you see it happening all the time. It's not really enforced. But when it is enforced, then you get done. And I wouldn't be surprised if some channels do get done. And I'm not sure what the penalties will be. They do talk in the guidelines about potential imprisonment. I don't know if they go that far. Maybe hefty fines, who knows? But the point is, the way I see it, and you could say I'm a vlogger, you could say I'm biased, but I don't really think of myself as a vlogger. I think of myself as a content creator, or just a guy who likes to talk. Because, is this a vlog? I don't think this is a vlog. It's a talking head. And that's the vast majority of what I do. You know, to me, vloggers, it's like a blog. You do a video diary of your events, where you're going, etc, etc. And I find that content quite interesting sometimes. And the reality is, the Philippines, I believe, certainly the Philippines government, they want to encourage tourism. They want to encourage expats. They want to encourage retirement, etc. to the Philippines. Again, as I said last night, Thailand, I could understand if they brought regulations in like this. I could understand if they had laws like this, because there are a number of high-ranking government people in Thailand who want to force expats out. That's no secret. When Adun was the health minister during COVID, and that, he made his views quite clear. You know, they have decided there are too many expats and they want them out, and they want to make it more difficult for people to stay long term. And I can understand why. But the majority of people in government don't seem to have that feeling. The majority of Thais outside of the tourist traps, Pattaya, Bangkok, etc, etc, don't seem to have that intention, which is why it hasn't come to fruition. But there is a battle going on there, so I could understand that. But in the Philippines, you can only assume by the ease of tourist visa, the fact that you can extend for 3 years, the fact that the fees haven't gone up for a long, long time, that they don't want that. They are actively encouraging people to come here. They are making it damn easy compared to other countries. And if you are trying to encourage people to come to the Philippines, and that is your intention, in my experience, vlogs are fantastic for that. I've often said, I'd like to know, I'd like some empirical evidence to say how many people in the Dumaguete area, how many people who live in Valencia have ended up here because of the vlogs. Because I think it's huge. Certainly the reason I came here, Old Dog, Paul Old Dog Nutrix, Mark Thornton. If it hadn't been for them, I wouldn't have even known Dumaguete existed. So they are providing a service. In that sense, they are encouraging the people to come here. Number of people I've met, they contact me through the channel, they're coming over, they say they're moving to Valencia. I say, why are you moving it to Valencia? Their answer will be because it's cooler up there, or they've heard good things about it. Well, they've heard good things about it through the vlogs. If you stop that, if you make that difficult, because let's face it, nobody is going to watch vlogs or be interested in content when everyone's face is blurred out and you can't focus on that, you can't pan the camera around and show what's going on. It's going to make the content far less desirable. It is going to put a lot of vloggers out the game. But I do believe, rightly or wrongly, that that's going to affect the number of people that come to the Philippines. And some of you may say that's a good thing. Some of you may think that is the way to go forward. Less foreigners, the better. Well, that's fine. I get that. I understand your opinion. But you're not the lawmakers. And as I say, the lawmakers don't seem to want to achieve that. They seem to want to achieve the opposite. So why have they passed a rule that will potentially be damaging to that objective in terms of encouraging people to come here? And certainly, if it is achieved, if it does come into force, if it is enforced, then it's inevitable that it's going to have a negative impact on people coming here. The only question is, how big is it going to be? How big is that impact going to be? Now, I was talking to my girlfriend Ellen about it last night, and she said, oh, they won't do it, it will die a death, they'll change it. I don't think they will. There's a lot of saving face in the Philippines. And it does seem, I mean, I was accused last night of clickbait, they're not new laws. Okay, maybe they're not. I haven't done the greatest research. I looked into it for a couple of hours, you know, apologies if I'm wrong. But it's not clickbait. It seems to me these are existing laws that have been reinterpreted, or they are guidelines on enforcing them. Whether they are or not, it will have the same effect. It will have a huge impact on vloggers over here, potentially. Keep saying potentially because the enforcement may not come to pass. And it's interesting, as I say, what is a vlogger? I don't consider myself a vlogger. Am I fooling myself? Maybe it won't impact. I mean, you look at some of the old goats over here. Goats as in greatest, not goats as in old guys. Mark, for example, Mark Thornton, it would have affected his channel. Probably won't affect Paul Old Dog, because he just tends to do the talking heads sat in his chair. So it won't affect all of us. And I say, I'm not bothered about it for myself because I can adjust my channel around it. It's disappointing because I do restaurant reviews. I do the top 5 restaurants in Dumaguete with the intention of helping the businesses over here to attract customers for them. I've got to think seriously whether I do that. And they're very vague in these guidelines. Again, as I was saying last night in my live stream, plug in my live stream by the way, what is their definition of consent going to be? Because when I do a vlog, when I do my interviews, I invariably do my interviews in bars or restaurants. When I was in Sikihor, I always did them in a rum bar. When I'm in Dumaguete, I generally do them in Sideways now. Before that, I used to do them in the Kingswick. I still do them in the Kingswick from time to time. But when I do them, I get permission first. I tell them, I ask them, is it okay to do a vlog? I ask them to turn the music down. I have to ask them because I can't do it with music in the background. So, as far as I'm concerned, I have got permission. If there are people in the bar, people in the restaurant, I say to them, I'm just going to do a quick vlog if that's all right with you. I need to turn the music off. If they said no, I wouldn't do it. So as far as I'm concerned, or the way I would interpret it, because it does say in the legislation, fair and legal. Well, I think I've been fair. And fair and reasonable are always great legal terms because they're open to interpretation. But I'm not going to worry too much when I do my interviews if someone walks in and out in the background of the bar, rightly or wrongly, because as far as I'm concerned, I have got permission. But maybe I'll come unstuck. Maybe that won't be enough. I don't know. Do they expect you to get written disclaimers? Again, I can understand why they have done this. Because again, they're saying in the guidelines, you know, it can be intrusive. Some vloggers are walking up to people when they're saying, can I ask you some questions, etc. They're not getting consent first. That could be considered intrusive. Maybe they feel that people are being pressured into doing their interviews. Maybe people like Regular Guy will have to stop, ask them off camera first and then do it. But at the end of the day, that's not going to make the content as watchable. And again, I'll use the analogy with the news broadcasters. I mean, if you've got there's been an incident or something like that, you often see on TV, you'd have the presenter there with the camera and someone will walk by and they'll say, can I ask you a few questions? Are they going to crack down on them as well? I very much doubt it. I think this is an aim to crack down on vloggers. I think it's quite obvious it's vloggers they're after. And as I say, I understand why they are doing it. But I just don't think it's an effective way of doing it. You know, surely it would have been better to bring in rules or suggest rules that your content cannot be offensive, that your content cannot be overly intrusive, that you have to be respectful to the people that are the subjects. Not just a blanket, you have to blank everyone out, because you could still be offensive. You could still have someone saying disparaging remarks about Filipinos, saying that blurred face over there is this or that. Don't think it's necessarily going to stop the people that they're trying to stop. And a lot of people ignore it. I'm sure they will. They'll just carry on regardless. Because for some people it's a living, some people it's a business. You know, they're going to be faced with a decision. Do they change their content to something which is probably not going to earn them the money they were earning before? Do they just ignore the regulations, which I'm sure some will? Or do they just leave the Philippines and go and vlog somewhere else, which I'm sure a lot will? And that, I think that's going to have a negative effect on the Philippines. In terms of advertising the place, in terms of promoting it. You know, and the vast majority of vloggers do that. I mean, I try and be honest. I have said many times, I am not in the business of promoting the Philippines. I'm not in the business of dissing the Philippines either. The things that I believe are good, I highlight. The things that I believe are negatives, I talk about. But the vast majority of vloggers over here tend to paint the Philippines in a very positive light. Perhaps more positive than it is. Well, they're the ones that are going to be affected as well. I mean, they're probably going to be the kind of people who are going to think, I'm not going to do this. Because the likes of Vitaly, I mean, he always knew he was breaking the rules. I mean, he's been banned from every sports stadium in Europe, you know. He has been pushing the line for a long time, but I think he made the calculation. I think he's got mental issues. But he's made the calculation that the fines and the penalties, etc., are worth it in terms of the revenue he'll make from his streams. But obviously that calculation didn't work this time. And to be honest with you, I think that would be a better way to do it. Throw the book at Vitaly, seek out some of these vloggers who are the ones that are upsetting people the most and penalise them, you know, hit them with some fines, because the legislation is apparently already in existence, just not being enforced. So, you know, why hit everybody? But it is what it is. I mean, that appears to be what they are determined to do, or there is a desire to do that. As I say, whether it will happen, I don't know. But it's going to give every vlogger over here food for thought. It's certainly given me food for thought. And I think it will be. I think it's going to be the end of a number of popular channels. Because I think they're going to blink. I think some of them are going to think, I'm not going to take the risk. Because the risk, the price, could be very high. But anyway, those are my thoughts. I would love to know your thoughts. Even though some of you are going to say, yeah, it's great, get rid of vloggers. Okay, you're entitled to your opinion, but as I say, vlogging covers a wide spectrum of people. The fact that you're watching YouTube, the fact that you're commenting on my video would suggest you like YouTube. You like to create a content in the Philippines, otherwise you would not be watching. There are obviously a lot of people out here who do like the content that people like Regular Guy produce, because he's got huge figures, huge views, huge following, huge channel in a short space of time. So they're being deprived of the content that they want to watch. But anyway, I've said my piece. I've outlined what the new regulations appear to be, the potential outcome of these new regulations if they are enforced. What do you think? Is it a good idea? Is it a bad idea? Do you encourage it? our channel is going to get closed down? Let me know in the comments. I'd be very interested to know. I would love it if you enjoyed the video, if you smash the like button. I would love it if you subscribe to the channel. But whether you do, whether you don't, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, stay safe. Be lucky.